Hello, and welcome to our program, Astronomy for Everyone. The topic for this month's program is the Popular Astronomy Club's Mobile Observatory. And here to tell us all about it from the club is Alan Sheidler. Alan, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Now, before we get into the mobile observatory, can you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and your astronomy background?
Well, sure. I've been a active member of the Popular Astronomy Club for about 30 years, actually a little over 30 years. The Popular Astronomy Club is located in Moline, Illinois, and I've been there for the past 40 years, basically. I've held positions of vice president and president of the club. Currently, I'm the director of observing, which sounds fancy, but basically I just kind of figure out what objects we're going to look at for observing sessions. At the last conference that the North Central region of the Astronomical League had here back in May, I had the good fortune of being elected the chairman for that region, the NCRAL region, or North Central region of the Astronomical League. And that's a 2-year post, and I'm still learning about what that is. As far as my background, in 2022, I received the master level of the Astronomical League Outreach Award. And I've also done a number of Astronomical League Observing Awards, the Double Star Observing Award, Globular Clusters. I did one for planetary nebulae, and I've observed transits of Venus and Mercury. And I've also done the Messier Observing Awards, the seasonal ones that we do in the North Central region. We've broken it up into 4 segments, which are a little more bite-sized and easier to accomplish. So that's a little bit about my background for astronomy.
Ah, interesting. Now, can you tell us how the Popular Astronomy Club got started? What's the history?
Well, Popular Astronomy Club is one of the older clubs. Actually, we were founded in 1936. Our founder was Dr. Carl Gamble. He was a manager at Dearborn Company, and he was also a very avid amateur astronomer. And he built an observatory of his own and invited people to actually come to his observatory, and he was overwhelmed with the number of people that came. And there was so much interest that he decided to form a club. And in 1936 is when that happened. The main purpose, really, of our club, the Popular Astronomy Club, is to educate the public about astronomical events. And so that all started in 1936. And in 1947, we were one of the first member clubs to actually join and help start the Astronomical League. So that was 1947. And that brings us up to date as far as our past. And maybe we can talk a little bit here in a few minutes about what we're doing now.
Yeah, well, yeah, we're going to get to that just a little bit later. Now, how did you mention that the club has an observatory?
Yes,
is that the
actually,
one that you were alluding to?
Our club has 2 observatories. There is a 10-foot domed observatory that we have on a farm located south of the Quad City area. And that observatory is basically for club members' use for their own observing programs and honing their skills as observers. But we also have a mobile observatory. We call that the Popular Astronomy Club Mobile Observatory, or PACMO for short. That is our primary outreach tool. So we actually have 2 observatories.
Interesting. I understand you have some images of the PACMO that you can share with us.
Well, I sure do. Let me see if I can share my screen here. Can you see this image here?
Yes, a nice group of people. Looks like a nice summer evening.
Yeah, this is a nice summer evening here. This kind of shows our mobile observatory here. And I'll show you another image here. This is another one here with fewer people, but you can see the equipment involved. The mobile observatory is in the back here. It has a 6-foot dome on it. We have a 12-inch Meade LX200 telescope that we use. In this particular evening here, we had the telescope set up on a tripod, and behind the people standing there is a TV screen that we connected up to the telescope for guests to view. When we do set the telescope inside the observatory, we can actually use the dome as a domed observatory would be. You can see it here. We opened up the back doors here, and in this particular case, we were looking at the sun that day. We have a solar filter on the front of it for safe solar viewing, but the pier actually goes down through a trap door in the bottom of the observatory and sits on a tripod that's on the ground, so it's isolated from foot traffic inside the observatory.
Oh yeah, that would be quite important if you have people coming up looking through the eyepiece, trampling around in the trailer. That's going to shake all over the place.
Yes. And then other times, as I've said, we set the telescope on a tripod, and you can see here the TV screen in the back. We found that during the pandemic, this was really a good way for our club to continue our public outreach events. People could come and stand at a distance and social distance themselves from each other rather than going into the tight confines of the observatory. They could look at objects on the screen. And in this particular case here, we had the planet Saturn on the screen there. And actually, we found that this is a pretty good way to do public outreach if you have larger groups. And small children sometimes have difficulty looking in the eyepiece, or sometimes if a person can't, stand up or climb a ladder, it's easier to do it this way too.
Yeah, absolutely. Plus, you can, as you say, get a whole group of people together at one time rather than have 30 people wait in a line to look through the eyepiece.
Right. Here's a group setting here that we had a number of other telescopes there that evening too. Sometimes we have a couple of hundred guests, sometimes not.
Depending on the weather.
It's very weather dependent. The other thing that's nice with this kind of a setup that we have, if it is cloudy, which oftentimes it is, we can also show videos or slideshows to groups while we wait for the clouds to clear, or just to entertain people and talk about astronomy, even if we can't see anything.
Now, how long have you had the mobile observatory?
We built the mobile observatory in the 1990s. Actually, I think the first use that we had was the year 2000. So we've had it now for 23 years.
Wow, that's quite a long time. It's very valuable, I'm sure, for your public outreach events. Now, Alan, I understand that we have a video of a setup at a recent outreach event that can kind of give our viewers a sense of what you have to do to get ready.
Our business is to put the telescope on the pier, on the mount.
Tripod.
And this telescope is a 12-inch LX200, and it takes 2 people to safely handle it. Minimum of 2 people.
There we go. this way.
Okay. There we are.
We're a little bit.
North, south, east, west.
And for those of you that may not have seen a telescope like this happens to be a 12-inch LX200.
Alright, so we're going to wait and see.
It has a focal ratio of f10, a focal length of 3,048 millimeters. And it is computer controlled, which is really nice. Once we get it aligned, we can find objects automatically.
Well, we still have some more connections to do. We have
we got power
coming out of our PACMO, and we have to plug that in to the power input plug here.
And just so we don't trip over it. We do have some rugs.
Also, so we don't trip here.
Yeah, we got some rugs.
Put some rugs over the cabling. We're going to have some more too when we hook up the video here.
And we are going to use a DSLR, both as video camera and as a still shot photographic aid. And those images will show up over here on the TV screen. We'll show you that in a little while, I guess.
That was an interesting video that you provided, Alan. Now, we're going to take a quick break at this point. If you have a question, please send us an email. You can see the address right there at the bottom of your screen. And coming up next with Term of the Month is Stephen.
Thanks, Don. The term of the month is M92. Recent news includes a new higher precision age of Messier 92. M92 has long been thought to one of the oldest clusters in the Milky Way. The new age is 13.80 plus or minus 0.75 gigayears. This is stunningly close to the Planck spacecraft, 13.819 plus or minus 0.058 gigayears, age of the universe. Stars can't be older than the universe. If any are found, there is something wrong somewhere. The error range allows 750 million years for the formation of the cluster and also allows stars nearly that much older than the universe. There is an 11-page paper on archive.org. This is spelled ARVIX, it's Greek. This is the preprint server, though peer review is indicated for this paper. The paper details how the result was obtained. There are references and comparisons to prior work. Techniques new and established were used and explained. 80% of the error is attributed to uncertainty in the distance from here to M92, which is about 27,000 light years away. That's similar to the distance to the center of the galaxy, although this is in a different direction. Now, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. I'm not a specialist here, but in my opinion, this has been met. Whatever expert reading of this paper may reveal, it is clear that it was a lot of work. And that is Term of the Month, M92. Back to you, Don.
Thanks, Stephen. We're back with our guest, Alan Sheidler, from the Popular Astronomy Club. Now, Alan, I understand that your club is involved to quite a great degree, actually, with public outreach. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, that's one of the major thrusts behind the activity in our club is public outreach. And obviously with our mobile observatory, the PACMO, we take that out quite often. That's kind of the centerpiece of our public outreach. And when you drive into a place with that, people immediately recognize that you have an observatory that's not been there before. So basically with the PACMO, we go to a lot of different places every third Saturday, every month from March through November. We go to our Niabi Zoo here, which is located in Coal Valley, Illinois. They have a nice big parking lot there, and we know how to turn the lights off. And it's actually pretty dark. And we've done that for many years. People know that. They come out every third Saturday for that. But we also go to libraries schools, campgrounds, scouts, anybody that would make a request, we'll consider it and bring it out if we can. Our theme really is to bring the observatory to the people. That's the basic concept we have with the mobile observatory. As far as outreach is concerned, currently we have about 50 or 55 members currently in our club, and quite a few of those are involved in outreach. We have club meetings and observing sessions that are open to the public. Since I've been keeping track of it since 2014, we've had 20,000 visitors come to observing events.
Wow, that's quite a
And-
number. That's quite a number.
Yeah, almost 300 public observing sessions. So we average, 30 to 40 public outreach events per year.
I understand
a
you
lot
have some images of some of these outreach events.
I can show you some pictures of objects.
Okay, yeah, we can do that too. Some of the objects you've taken using the scope that you bring out, and if you've got any group shots to share, that'll all be great.
I'll just go through the whole bunch of objects here. The first object I'll show you here. Now, I think all of these images were taken with the observatory equipment that we have. Here's one that I'm sure many of your viewers will recognize, the Ring Nebula.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Here's a globular cluster, Messier number 2. Here's one of my favorites, is Alberio, which is a double star. And you can clearly see the difference in color between the two. This is always one that surprises people. Here's a picture of Jupiter and the moons of Jupiter. It's always interesting when you can actually see an eclipse shadow on the cloud tops of Jupiter.
Yeah, it's interesting
And
that you point out that Io's shadow and where Io might be to cast that shadow on the cloud tops of Jupiter.
Yeah, you have to have an imagination to see Io there, but that's about where it was at. Here's a group that we had at the Niabi Zoo. You can see it's a very popular event when we have clear skies around here. There's another one. And I think we have one here showing a group at Niabi Zoo, and obviously we saw something in the sky there.
I thought maybe you were reenacting the scene from Close Encounters, where they're all pointing up.
That could be. This particular event here was a scouting event. There was a lot of Cub Scouts there for that. That's always a popular event for Cub Scouts. This is an interesting one here, Neptune and Triton.
Oh yeah.
And here's another group that we had. We also have the ability to do solar observing. And so we do quite a few events in the daytime as well. And this is a shot that was taken with the equipment. You can see some nice sunspots.
Yeah, we're starting to get into some good sunspot activity period right now.
Yep. These are some club members here. This is my wife, Sarah, over here. And this is our club president right now, Dale Hatchell. And the vice president is Dino Milani and myself. And here's images. Here's an image here of Messier number 3, another globular cluster. This is a nice one here of M27, the dumbbell, or I prefer apple core. To me, it looks more like an apple core.
It does resemble more the apple core, yes.
But this is always a nice one, and it's an easy one to capture with the equipment we have. Ring Nebula again. Here's Neptune and Triton as observed at Trinity Lutheran School in Davenport. Polaris. This is an interesting one to talk about at public observing sessions. Most people don't realize that Polaris is a double star. Not only is it the only star in the sky that doesn't move, but it's also a double star, so it's doubly interesting.
Indeed, yet it's with that scope to be able to pick up the double, that's kind of tricky to do.
You have to get the right exposure. That's the beauty of digital photography. If you don't like what you have, you just change the settings and try again.
Exactly.
And we always try for Saturn when it's visible. This is one where our goal here was to see how many moons we could find. And I think if you count them up there, you can see like 7 moons. And you have to use your imagination a little bit here for Mimas and Enceladus, but they're there.
Yep, well, I can see that we're concentrating on the moons because you almost had to overexpose the planet.
Yeah, well, you can see here, obviously the rings are overexposed. But then if you do a good job with the exposure, you can bring out the rings and Cassini's division and some of the cloud features on even Saturn, which are tough to do sometimes.
Yeah, you can see the Cassini division there. Yeah, it's quite nice.
And I think this is about the last image I've got here. This is the planet Venus. This was taken last week, actually.
Okay.
It's getting quite nice, actually. It's a nice crescent.
Indeed. I understand, too, that you also have a video of the moon. Not too much turbulence there. See, you've got it right along the terminator, so that it makes for an interesting shot.
Yes, this was an interesting one. It was more by luck than sense, but I happened to point the telescope right at where the straight wall is. I don't know if you can see it.
Yes, you can, right there in that crater, right there on the
right
terminator.
There in that crater. There's a feature called the straight wall, and it's a fault line. Actually, it's my understanding it's a fault line on the surface of the moon in that crater. So there was a there was a moonquake basically that caused that, and you can only really see that maybe about 1 day out of the month. Just when the sun angle is very, very shallow, it casts a long shadow, you can see it. Otherwise, at midday on the moon, you can't see it because there's no shadow.
Exactly. Alan, we've run out of time for this month's show, but I do want to thank you very much for being a part of it and bringing the information of the PACMO to our audience. For the folks out there, please check out our club website. The address you can see right there at the bottom of your screen. And to finish out the show, as always, here's Stephen with What's Up in the Night Sky.
Thanks, Don. What's up in the night sky for July 2023? We just had the solstice. The length of the day is changing slowly now, but will speed up until the equinox. Long days are getting shorter in the north, with short days getting longer in the south. This is an image of the sun shortly before the start of July. There is a prominent sunspot group, and so as the sun takes about 30 days to rotate once, and since we see half of the sun, and since the group is near the center, it should stay in view over the first week of July. The month of July starts with a full moon on the 3rd, a third quarter on the 9th, a new moon on the 17th, and a first quarter on the 25th. Now, at the beginning of the month, on the 1st, Mercury has a superior conjunction. So we're looking at the solar system from the top down. So if you draw a line more or less from Mercury in the upper left through the sun and down to the Earth, you see that the sun is between Mercury and the Earth. You cannot see Mercury through the sun. But you can see Mercury at the end of the month. So on the 31st, we have Mercury and Mars. So, so this is near sunset, and Mars is also sets near sunset with Mercury. So then we move back to the first for Mars and Venus. So this is also at sunset, and we have Mars and Venus. The sun is just about to rise, so it's, Venus is setting pretty rapidly. And then also on the 1st at sunrise, we have 4 planets: Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. So Jupiter rises about 3 hours before sunset at the beginning of the month here to about 3 hours. Really, it's 3 hours after sunset. So this is 3 hours before sunrise. We're here at sunrise on the 1st. Saturn is similar, sets 3 hours after sunset to an hour after sunset. Uranus rises 3 hours, like Saturn, rises 3 hours after sunset to 2 hours after sunset. There's some rounding going on. It's really a 2 hours difference. And then Neptune rises 4 hours after sunset to 2 hours after sunset. So they sort of go in order that way. Finally, shown here on the 17th, I'm really only interested in Pluto, but we have some other planets that are also out there. Pluto has opposition in July, and for all intents and purposes, Pluto always has opposition in July. It doesn't move that much. Now, Pluto, the opposition is on the 21st, but I'm showing the 17th because there's a new moon on the 17th. Now, Pluto is a point object, and so it doesn't care too much about your light pollution or what the moon is doing, but it is faint. It is magnitude 14.3, so you'll need a 10 or so inch telescope to see it, or you'll need photography where you can take long exposures. You'll also need a sky chart better than this one. So that's what's up in the night sky for July 2023. Remember, we don't charge money for this show, but we may tax your brain.